bloody good horror, covering the best and worst of the horror genre since Halloween 2007. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello everybody and welcome to, I'm going to say episode 331 of Bloody Good Horror. What do you think, Mark? Is that right?
You guessed right.
All right, awesome. My name is Eric. I'm the editor-in-chief over at bloodygoodhorror.com. We are here tonight to talk about Mad Max Fury Road. Fury, because Charlize Theron's name is Furiosa, Mark.
Not to be confused with Mad Max Furry Road, which is a totally different movie.
You're kind of putting your child on a certain road when you name her Furiosa. Like, just saying. She probably
Doesn't have the
wasn't
same
going to
ring
be
as mild Manerosa.
She probably wasn't going to be like a very calm violinist or something, you know? Yeah, okay. Fury Road. That's what we're doing tonight. Joining me tonight, first up, from the Dirty South, Hotlanta. Sipping on her scissor. Please welcome Cece to the show.
Hello.
What flavor of scissor are you sipping on tonight?
I'm pretty sure it only comes in purple.
Like a nice Dimetap grape?
Yeah, just
Nice.
grape.
Very cool. Next up on the show, he is from Indiana, which, as far as I know, does not have a cool nickname like Dirty South. But he is cool. His name is Casey.
We have the moderately clean prairie.
That's nice. I like that.
Nice. Like, it's fairly tidy. Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Good. Very nice. Next up on the show, coming to you from Chicago, the Windy City, so I'm told. They have terrible pizza there. They also have this guy. His name is Mark.
Chirac.
Just the worst pizza.
I mean,
it's not even really pizza. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah, you know.
Let's stop letting them pretend it's pizza, right, John? Right?
Yeah. All right.
It's like lasagna.
Let's just say that you pay a premium for real pizza around here.
Yeah. There
are
must
places,
be some like New York ass pizza places.
Well, there's a couple new places that are open that have good New York style pizza, but they charge by the slice and it's very expensive. So it's like a rare commodity around here.
Lame. You know who could afford that pizza even though it's expensive, Mark?
Who's that?
Our last member tonight, coming to us live from New York City. His name is John Schnars.
The Big Apple, son.
John buys whatever pizza he wants.
I got mad pizza up in here.
He gets his.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't like to pick fights with a town nicknamed Chirac. It just doesn't seem.
Is that real, Mark?
Yeah, for sure.
It's definitely something that the citizens of Chicago should not be spreading, in my opinion.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
Isn't Spike Lee directing a movie called Chirac that's coming out?
There was a little bit of fury about that.
They better watch out, or their capital might be taken over by Shisis.
John, would you say that people were Furiosa about that?
Not sure if that's the correct use of the Furiosa, but
Furiosa would be a great name for like a lady Mexican wrestler.
Sure.
Or a dude one, really. I think that would work either way.
Well, now that would have to be Furiosa.
That would have to be
There you
Furiosa.
go.
In order to be proper, yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
We're nothing if not proper.
Yeah, well, and Mexican wrestling is the most proper, so.
That's right. So yeah, speaking of proper, we're here tonight to give propers to Mad Max Fury Road. Here's a spoiler alert, is good.
It's good.
It's
very
good. Funny thing though, no, not really many roads in the movie. Did you guys notice that?
Well, it's all kind of one big road, John.
yeah,
It's a
just
metaphor.
one big
I did
road.
have a couple moments throughout this where I was thinking, which one of these roads is Fury Road?
Yeah, no, I was wondering if
Whichever
they were gonna
one
kinda get
she's
into it,
on.
but yeah,
Yeah.
that's a fair point.
Although, Mark, you know what is not good?
What's that?
Mad Max for the Nintendo Entertainment System, which was released in 1990.
Oh my God! So for those of you who have not been privy to this yet, Eric's got his little computer hooked up there to play some ridiculous NES games. And
I'm
put
back
them
in the
on
saddle. I was gone for about 2 weeks, but I'm
Yeah,
back.
so if you go to youtube.com/BGH video, you can watch Eric get hilariously fucking angry while playing NES games. I can't.
I think it's funny that you think I'm super angry. I find that like that's my mildly annoyed at games.
Well, it's not like you. It's not you yelling. It's a lot of like quiet, like God damn it, like
Son
just
of
a
a
lot of
bitch.
like you're trying to hold it in, but you don't actually hold it in all the way.
I mean, those games are just made intentionally infuriating.
No, it's awesome though. I mean, I agree. I love your analysis of how infuriating they are. Like this Mad Max game, especially these licensed games that like only partially resemble anything that goes on in like the movies or TV shows that they're about. So I know Eric's going to be doing a lot more of them, but you should definitely check it out. So it's youtube.com/BGH video.
I don't want to spoil the Mad Max one, the viewing experience for listeners, but there's a point where Eric sits for, I don't know, like 4 minutes and doesn't move, and then realizes that the thing
And
he's
I won.
sitting there and not. No, but it didn't work. I think you reset the game, didn't you?
No. No. I totally beat that area though. Oh no, I'm sorry. No, you're right. Then it was like another round of like 30 cars I had to beat.
You were like, oh, 2 more rounds. Fuck that.
That's right. That is right. So it's evolving a little bit. Like I'm getting into games I've never played before, and I'm trying to stop and do like at least a little bit of research beforehand so that I can sort of take you on a journey, so to speak. Like if I had just booted that game up and tried to play it, that would have lasted 3.5 minutes, and I wouldn't have known what was happening. So yeah, it's a work in progress, but I too this weekend. I also played Swamp Thing.
Oof.
Yeah.
Another terrible licensed game.
Also speaking of, I mean,
and I could not get my codes to work for that one, so that one's a lot of fun.
yeah. You spend the first 10 minutes of the video talking about how pissed you are that you can't cheat. I don't know. They're really awesome though. These are games that I've seen Monster Party. I played a lot of Monster Party, which was the first one you did, but these are definitely really cool. So
see, I think I played a different Swamp Thing game. I swear to God, I played a Swamp Thing game and it was not that.
I mean, Swamp Thing, like, it looks nice. It's got kind of cool graphics. It's got these great, ridiculous, like, opening montage scenes and stuff. But then everything that is actually playing it is just the worst.
Well, and I read all the Swamp Thing comics, or at least the what the hell's his name? The one that the Watchmen guy did. Now I'm gonna forget his name. In any event, and this game was nothing like that, and I was very upset about it.
It said the internet's told me it was based on the comics.
I don't know. It must have predated the ones I was reading.
Are you telling me the internet is incorrect about something?
No, that could never happen.
Yeah.
So,
So yeah, check that out. YouTube.com/BGH video. The other thing going on the internet, besides, I mean, everything we do really, CC's book club.
Oh, yes. We are actually on our first section of May's reading. It's After the People Lights Have Gone Off by Stephen Graham Jones.
People Lights?
Yes, the
I like
People
that.
Lights.
As opposed to all the other lights.
Yes.
Like the moon.
Well, that's got to stay. You got to have
sun.
some light.
Right.
But yeah, it's up over on our subreddit, and we read it's an anthology, so we read the first 5 short stories this week, and we're chatting about them, so come hang out.
Awesome. Reddit.com/RBGH, like the milk.
Yep.
Is there anything else going on Reddit, Mark, now, or is it pretty much just like Land of CC?
It's Land of CC. We've got some, but other
There's
people
some
are
other
posting stuff.
Yeah, there's some other stuff.
We've got some trailers going up there. I think people have been sharing news with us, which is awesome. So keep doing that because you're doing the job, so we don't have to. I think there's some good discussion, but it's CC and her book minions are by far the most active people on the subreddit. So
That would be
where all the
an
nerds live.
awesome band name, CC and her book minions.
What kind of music would that be?
I'm thinking sort of like a guy with a guitar strapped to the front of a truck and no face.
Yes.
That's what I'm
Just
thinking.
swinging
That's
from
all
the
I
swing.
need.
I just took that off the top of my head, just spitballing.
I like it.
So before you move on, just one last thing. I'd like to point out that we had a shit ton of new reviews on the website Bloody Good Horror this week. We've been mixing up our reviews of new and old. So we have a review of Mad Max Fury Road. We have a review of Maggie, which is the Arnold Schwarzenegger joint for those of you who don't just remember random movie titles. Sophie's been continuing to review all of the classic Halloween. She's reviewing the entire series up until the remakes, which we have reviews of on the site already.
I was reading her review of Halloween 4. I found it acceptable.
That's great.
I was worried because that's like my favorite.
We'll pass it along to her.
I'm sure she'll be excited.
We set up a Slack channel to communicate internally with all of the writers and folks, and I
thought you were going to say to make Eric feel old.
Yeah, well, that too. But I was giving Luke shit about giving Jason X a 3 or whatever he gave it and how offended I was by that.
I saw that twice in the theater.
Yeah, I love that fucking movie.
Yeah.
Spencer,
No, it's
did
not
it-
good though. I think 3 is like fair.
Well, I just wonder what it would be like going into it uninitiated, you know?
Yeah.
We have a review of Candyman, which I'm surprised we didn't before. World War Z. Evan Sleed has reviewed the Texas Chainsaw Massacre films. This week he did the third one. So we've been killing it. We had almost 10 new reviews this week, in addition to these Let's Play videos and trailers.
Damn, Gina. That's a lot.
So we had a
reviews.
new Crimson Peak trailer, which I don't know if you guys have seen the Crimson Peak
Oh,
trailer.
that's the new Del Toro joint. I just saw the first trailer for that I've seen today, and it looks fantastic.
Yeah, it looks really good. It's
Creepy.
like it kind of, I don't know, like the first half of it is just kind of period piece stuff, which if you're not used to is kind of like,
I love that
And
stuff,
then
though.
you start to see the kind of like monsters and weird stuff that's going on, and it just looks awesome.
Yeah, it looks
Oh,
good.
it's got the what's his name from Thor, that other
Yeah,
guy.
that
Will
guy.
it be Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah. And it's got Charlie Hunnam and Jessica Chastain.
It does
Jessica
have
Chastain.
it does have Charlie Hunnam in it. You're right.
Ooh, Mia Wasikowski too.
Yes, that was the other one.
Wasikowska.
I will say that I am cautiously optimistic about that.
What are you from Long Island?
What?
Cautiously optimistic.
Cautiously optimistic.
So what if he is?
You got to add emphasis somehow.
Yeah. All right. Real quick, any other trailers? I feel like I got the same Terminator Genesis one. I'm still
Yeah.
excited for that.
I saw the Sinister 2 trailer, which just looks like a fucking steaming pile of shit.
Yeah, it
that's-
does not look good.
Oh,
I didn't
it's
see that
Sinister
one
2.
today though.
I haven't seen that. Yeah.
I just like I feel like turning, as much as we joke about Bagul on this podcast, I feel like making it about that rather than, I don't know. I really like the first Sinister, and I'm sad that there's a sequel.
It kind of definitely rode a line though, where you could see it going south in the sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there were moments in the movie where it rode the line of what.
You
this
mean
is
when it
ridiculous.
ended on a jump scare?
The ending, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
For-
that I
particular.
think is the line that we.
That was a pretty cool sweater that Ethan Hawke wore, though. His dad's sweater.
I saw another ridiculous trailer for The Visit. I can't remember if it was the same one, but
Was The Visit?
M. Night Shyamalan.
I didn't get any.
Oh,
horror
that's the
trailers.
found
I
footage
can't
thing.
believe
Yeah, I
this.
think I got all action movies.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
and-
it.
Yeah.
The best part
and
of the trailer is at the end where the grandma goes, "Can you get inside the oven and clean it for me?" So funny.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I think I get like that's a perfect example of a thing that I can't tell if it's meant to be scary or funny, but it's definitely just really funny.
Well, if it's anything M. Night Shyamalan is really good at, it's managing weird tones, so I'm sure this will be fine. Like in Lady in the Water, where he had a character who just worked out one arm of his body, so it was really big. For no particular reason.
Still never saw that movie, which
You got to see it, man. It is special.
I'm sure.
Like
What a way
basically,
to go.
it's got. Have any of you guys seen this?
Yeah, I have.
Like I think it's Paul Giamatti, right? That's in that.
Yeah.
And he plays
Yeah.
like a film critic, but he basically has written this character that personifies all the critics that have ever said anything bad about, like M. Night Shyamalan. And guess what happens to him? He's like the only person in the movie that dies. Spoiler alert. It's just like so. Oh my god! It's so M. Night Shyamalan. Sorry, John.
Guess I don't need to watch it.
Sorry,
now.
John. Shyamalan. I forgot. No,
Shyamalan.
Shyamalan. That's what you said.
Yeah, come on.
Shirane.
Jesus Christ. Let's get to the Furiosa here, huh?
All right. Okay. Anybody drink anything good?
I'm drinking a Revolution anti-hero.
Love it. That's
I'm
appropriate.
drinking.
That could be a beer of the week, Mark.
Yeah, let's just say Anti-Hero by Revolution Brewery in Chicago. It's an IPA, 6.5 alcohol by volume. Yeah, there you go.
So Joe could drink like 45 of them and be fine.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty good, really hoppy. It's a little chewy, but it's definitely there. It's Revolution's most popular beer, and you can get it everywhere around here. So
Cool.
I'm doing an effortless IPA by Captain Lawrence, which is tasty.
Okay.
I give it at least one thumb up, thumb and a half, maybe.
Delightful. All right, guys. Let's take a quick break here and discuss Mad Max Fury Road.
This is Dr. Mambo. Here, boy, come on. Come on, Dr. Mambo.
Is a doctor like a physician or a professor?
Yeah, he's a professor. Of being a dog? Ooh, face!
Hi, this is Electra Avellan. And this is Elise Avellan. And we're the crazy babysitter twins from Grindhouse. And you're listening to Bloody Good Horror. Mwah.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big breaking TV. From the prime time, bitch. Main feature.
We're back on the show. John, you know what there is not a lot of in Mad Max Fury Road?
I actually don't know because it was replete with many things.
Words.
Soap.
Soap? Yes.
Soap.
Correct.
That-
Proper
very
sanitation. Yes.
Yeah.
Also words. There's
No,
not
you're
many
right.
words in this movie.
Mm-mm.
Actually, according to IMDb, he had the whole movie storyboarded out before he even wrote the script. Because he basically just knew what he wanted to happen.
I mean,
That makes
you,
sense.
See that? Yeah,
you
it makes a
start
lot of
with
sense.
those dudes on the seesaws, and everything else just falls into place from there.
If he'd had you on staff, though, he would have had plenty of words.
He would have at least had the option to have words.
Right, exactly.
You know, which is important.
And on that note, John, please bring us the word of the day. All right, John, what do you got for us this week?
Today's word, and God, do I hope I haven't used this before, is matriarchy.
I'm sure you have, but go ahead.
Ah, stop.
I just said yeah, but I was my suggestion.
matriarchy. Matriarchy is a system of society or government ruled by a woman or women. There you go.
John.
Mm-hmm. I think you can probably guess the origin there with the old matri and archy and whatnot. But it looks like I'm just kind of guesstimating around 1850 is the origin based on the
Really?
line chart that that I get from the old Google machine. With a peak around the 1970s.
That
which
would make
was
sense.
Yeah, also a peak for a little movement called feminism. So, here we are. Matriarchy.
There's a lot of lady empowerment in this movie.
I think we should get to. I think we'll get to it, but
Sure.
there's
We
definitely a rich and rewarding conversation to be had. Which is what's been happening on the internet this week.
Definitely
If
definitely
you've been
rich,
paying
definitely
attention.
rewarding.
I'm gonna say, have we ever had a rich and rewarding conversation?
Yeah.
Every week, Mark.
Oh, that's right.
Every week.
BloodyGoodHorror.com.
John.
Yep.
Why don't you tell us what this movie's about? Kind of briefly explain, I guess, how it dovetails into the previous Mad Max films, of course, all directed by what's the guy's name? George Miller?
George Miller.
George Miller. I'm not
Yeah.
very familiar with the Mad Max movies, John. I'm sure I saw them when I was a kid, but they're not my jams, so to speak.
I mean, well, yeah. I think I would call them canon for certainly sort of like the cult movie scene, but they're definitely not sort of on the level of like a lot of other things that have gotten remade or have gotten this sort of like revival.
Eric,
so
you may know George Miller as the director of Babe, Pig in the City.
Yeah, I saw that. Babe, there are like two Babe movies and two Happy Feet movies and a Babe movie, but right before this one, which is amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a well.
I wonder why there were so many car chases in Babe.
Dude, you just have to make that. You have to make that fuckload of money before you can spend it on another Mad Max movie. I suppose.
Babe, Pig in the City is a fine film. I will stand behind that film. People love the Happy Feet movies too. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
I'm not begrudging him for that. I just think it's quite a contrast when you look at this movie we just watched.
Yeah. So Mad Max. I should have looked up when the original's from. I want to get 77. No, 85. No, that was Beyond the Thunderdome.
I mean, you're
Mad Max was
This-
79.
This is
79.
going great.
So it's 79, 81, and 85 are the first three films. We then took a 22-year hiatus, which, super common. And
NBD.
yeah, here we are. We're back.
Well, I mean, it's 2015, John, so if you
Oh, yeah, so
count the
sorry,
release, that's
20 years.
actually... No, isn't that 30 years?
Oh my God, we need to stop
Yeah,
with the
right.
numbers.
All right, sorry, you're
Isn't
right.
it 30 years?
Yeah, no, you're
Jesus, and you went to Duke.
good.
I'm going to call them and let them know
Listen, I had a graduation this weekend.
that I
after
do
which
math
I
better.
forgot basically everything that I've ever known. So yeah, here we are, 30 years later. But the plot basically picks up, more or less after Beyond Thunderdome, or sometime after Beyond Thunderdome. You've got Tom Hardy now in the role of Mad Max, replacing Mel Gibson. He as he is wont to do, as is sort of the Mad Max way, he wanders into the middle of a skirmish. He doesn't necessarily wander in. He is captured in the beginning of the film and taken to a city that's run by kind of an evil warlord. And long story short, he's on a car that's chasing this runaway vehicle that's being driven by Charlize Theron. She had set out with a couple of other folks to go collect some gas to bring back to the city. Gas is sort of the thing that runs the future. I mean, kind of like it runs the present, but in a more high stakes way. And but instead of continuing on her mission, she's making a run for it, and she's actually escaping this city with basically the wives of the leader, one of whom is pregnant. I think there's 6 of them. There might be 5. I didn't do the math, while I was watching the movie. But yeah, so they're getting away, and Max essentially gets hooked up with them through sort of craziness and car chase stuff. But he hooks up with the Charlize Theron character. That's Imperator Furiosa, as we've been joking about. And
tell me more.
Yeah, he more or less becomes a member of their escape party.
After they kind of like fight for a little bit.
Yeah.
He's Mad Max. He don't need no people.
No, he does not. He doesn't need
He's
nor
like,
want
step
any
off, ladies.
he's
a lone wolf.
That's right. He's his
def-
own wolf pack.
but they hook up with one other character, a guy named Nux, who's played by Nicholas Holt.
John, didn't you go
Yeah.
to school with a Nux in Philly? I feel like that's one of your childhood
Big
friends.
Nux, little Nux.
Oh man,
I'm not
medium
sure where
Nux.
you're coming from with that, but
That just
sure.
sounds like a guy's name from Philly.
Yeah, so this actor, Nicholas Holt, he was the main character in Warm Bodies, or I should say the sort of main zombie character from Warm Bodies.
That's
He's
why
also
he
in
looks so
X-Men.
familiar.
Interesting.
He was in Days of Future Past, yep. He was also the boy in About a Boy 15 years
Wait,
ago.
is he Beast?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
Beast.
Oh shit! Wow. So this is the bald guy, the
yeah.
white dude.
Yeah.
They're wolf.
That's a pretty crazy transformation.
Yeah.
That's wild. Acting.
Yeah, he is an actor. So, yeah, I mean, the basic plot is that Imperator Furiosa is making a run for it. She's trying to escape this sort of... Yeah, I mean, it's a... I don't even know what you would call it.
She's trying to bust out. He's
like a
he's
warlord
like a
that's
giant
running
cult.
the
Yeah,
city.
warlord.
Yeah.
Like he basically keeps control over the people by hoarding water.
And he's kept this harem of
Right.
young sort of... I mean, they look like models to me. Like,
He's
were these
convinced
even
kind of all the
actresses?
peasants and the young men to sort of fight for him by using this kind of pseudo, almost like Germanic religions, like Viking religion stuff. Like they talk about Valhalla and all this crap. Yeah. And then in the meantime, he's enslaved the women basically, and he has them either like procreating or like apparently just making milk, which apparently you can just do.
Yep.
And all kinds of stuff. So she busts a bunch of these women out. She's been like a
all
faithful
of the
servant
wives-
to this guy for years, or slave, whatever. She was abducted when she was a child, and this is her moment where she's now trusted with this war machine thing, and she's like, okay, I can escape with them now.
Yeah. Well, it seems like she had been running this route as sort of the leader on this war machine for a while. But yeah, so she makes a run for it. She basically it's just her and these 5 or 6 women, and they're making a run for what she she remembers as the green place. It was the place where she was born, and they're making this run across the desert, being chased by the warlord, and then sort of the two, I don't know what you would call them, lieutenants or kind of co-warlords that run Gas Town.
I believe it's assistant to the regional warlord.
Yeah, well, no, but it was weird. Like I didn't, and it's obviously like not made super clear in the movie, but there's the guy who runs Bullet Town, the Bullet Farmer, and then there's the guy who runs
Bullet Town is a great. I love those two dudes.
And then
who
Gas
runs
Town.
Barter Town?
I like to think. I don't know. I guess I couldn't tell. I went back and forth between thinking that these were three sort of equal bands, but they had an agreement to help each other out, or was that guy like the one true warlord? Because they really kind of seemed done with his bullshit. Had a whole bunch of points in the movie, but it seemed like they maybe felt they were like obligated to help him or whatever.
Yeah. So the one guy is the sort of, he's like bullet crazy, just shooting like nonstop, and then you've got the other guy. He's listed as the people eater, but he is the fattest human that we see in the movie, and his legs
He's got
are
some
sort of
serious
fat. Yeah.
He's got some cankles. He's got some
He's got-
cankles.
Those are pretty. Yeah, those are. Cankles.
What's it called when your like ankle is actually thicker than your calf? Is there a thing for that? It's like
I
extreme.
think that's a
cankles.
vajankle.
Yeah. Oh, stop. Oh God. All right. Yeah, so that's basically the whole plot of the movie, is they're trying to escape and they're trying to figure out what they're doing. And you've got Max, who is sort of gradually, becoming not enamored with, but definitely sort of wanting to help in this situation. And then these women who are gradually able to trust him over time, because they essentially were treating him as if he's another sort of part of this.
Well, they do a great job of setting up Mad Max's character and motivations, like with very, very minimal storytelling. And in fact, I think that's like a good way to describe the whole movie.
I mean, you mentioned there's no dialogue.
Right. In the beginning, there's flashbacks where essentially like they're tying into, essentially giving you the idea of he's tried to protect these people in the past and they died. And they haunt him, basically. Yeah,
I mean, we should get into like where you guys are in terms of the other movies, because
I'm nowhere.
They actually did a really nice job. So all of those flashbacks, I don't know if they were. I'm guessing they actually were from the originals.
I feel like it was a mix of like some of it looked like old footage and some of it looked new, but really like well blended.
From that, but they touched on the same elements, story elements.
I mean, it's. The important things are that he lost his wife and his daughter in tragic circumstances. We shouldn't reveal specifically because it would be a pretty major spoiler. But and you're right, like that's brought up right away. And then even in the later films, there are sort of main other characters that he comes to be involved with that are then systematically killed in front of him.
Well, and pretty much the entire relationship between him and Theron, which literally starts out with them just beating the shit out of each other, the whole arc of their relationship is basically told through side eyes. Like little mini glances, sometimes in the middle of insane car chases.
I think
like
those are called micro expressions.
Yeah, that like subtly advance their story. Like it's just, I don't know, mate. For a film that has so little on paper, there's so much kind of characterization and emotion conveyed in this, I feel like.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
Mark.
Yeah.
How do you feel about matriarchies?
Oh man, all for it. I need someone to like, do everything for me and take care of me, because I am not.
Because you're just a giant
capable
baby.
of handling myself.
Is that what matriarchies are about?
Oh, man.
You all right, Cece?
I'm doing awesome.
Look,
I kind of wish I had started drinking, but
This is happening whether you like it or not.
I can get to it, but one of my favorite like moments in the entire movie is when Tom Hardy takes 2 shots with the sniper rifle and is like, nah, fuck it, you're better at this than me, and just hands it to Charlize Theron, and she just.
You know who doesn't like that, Mark? I bet.
Who?
Men's rights activists.
Oh
Yeah.
Lord, definitely they do not.
We'll talk about that later, though, Mark. Casey, what do you think of this? And how do you feel about the originals?
So I was a big fan of the originals. I've been rewatching them over the weekend and everything. So I was pretty stoked to see this one coming in here. It's been a long time since I'd seen the originals, but again, I was pretty invested in them. This is a big part of my growing up being a movie fan. So getting into this one, I was just absolutely blown away. by this movie. It was so over the top and absurd at moments that I was giggling like an idiot throughout the entire thing. It was just pretty amazing to watch.
Yeah, I agree. Cece.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Mark and Casey and John. I've really liked it. I think that, like you were saying, it was really impressive that it was such an entertaining and like action-packed movie with such little talking.
Yeah.
Yet it was still.
And there's some depth to it.
Yeah, there's still depth to it. There's still a very distinguished plot and, established, boundaries and things like that. And I mean, visually, it was phenomenal. So it's been a really long time since I've seen the original, so it's kind of hard for me to remember that. Yeah. But on its own, I think it does awesome.
It really does, I think. Yeah, that's kind of the genius of it, that it is sort of this little kind of, niche thing. Even for like genre fans, but this movie could stand alone. You wouldn't have to know anything about any of these movies and you could go into this, but I feel like if you're a fan, you can still really appreciate what they're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
John.
Well, they're really sorry.
Sorry.
I'm getting excited.
Casey.
Casey, go ahead.
No, I just could point out that they're actually, while this has existed as a franchise, they had the original trilogy and everything. The story, the way they wrote this story, tied it into the original, got a bit of a remake in there and whatnot, but they're actually turning this into a full-blown franchise. It just really kind of blows my mind.
Yeah, in April, I just read last month that Hardy signed on to do 3 more.
Oh, wow.
Which is fucking awesome, because the first thing I thought when I left was, I want more of that. But I don't know how they're going to top it. That's the thing. Like, they spent over $100 million on this one.
$200 million? What do you mean?
Is that not over $100 million, Cece?
I'm just saying, to top it, Lord.
It is all also apparently like it was mostly practical effects. They use CG, I guess, mostly to hide stunt rigs and to do like Charlize Theron's arm and stuff. But apparently most of that stuff was real, which is pretty bananas.
Yeah, I was looking at some Instagram photos of the stunt doubles, and I'm really hoping that in like the director's cut or the bonus features that you get to see more of that.
There's got to be a bunch of cool effects.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy. So I've definitely seen the original 3. Really fondly remember them, although have not watched them in at least 10 years and probably more like 15 years. It's funny, I don't know if you guys have seen the original one in a while. For some reason in my brain, it's very similar to El Mariachi, because neither of them are really well made. They're made for next to $0, but they both have
$300,000 to be exact.
So they both have this energy to them that lets you know that you're watching something that's just amazing in a kind of different way. And what I loved about this is all of that sort of insane energy that's in the previous films. And certainly like Road Warrior had a bigger budget, and then Beyond Thunderdome had moments of just actual insanity in it. This movie like took all of that, bottled up, let it age for 30 years, and then just fucking popped the cork on it. And it was really just bonkers, all the stuff you guys said, I mean, the lack of dialogue, it really is, it's 2 hours long, which was a little surprising, but it's 2 hours of just straight ahead fucking mayhem, which makes it all worthwhile.
I mean, it dumps, the minute that the movie starts, you're like dumped into this action, and it rarely stops.
Mm-hmm.
They waste 0 time.
They were definitely. I mean, I kind of had an experience in this movie that I haven't had in a long time of just sort of, I don't know. You do this a long time, it gets easy to like be a little cynical in the theater and just kind of sit down and just kind of think, all right, come on, impress me or whatever. And then you're being critical the whole time sometimes, This movie totally kind of transported me. And for 2 hours, I just was amped into everything going on. And like there were a bunch of little like chill moments for me where it just kind of was like sublime at a certain point. There was one moment I remember, it was actually probably in the first act, I can't even remember, but there's motorcycles jumping up over this like war machine thing they're driving, and then they're picking them off with like the sniper rifle as they fly over in slow motion.
Well, they're throwing like sort of grenades down into
and that's not even one of the crazier moments in the movie, but something about the way like this movie is so beautifully shot for a movie that is ostensibly about like a disgusting, unsanitary, not nice to look at society and peoples, this is a gorgeous film. And I was reading, I guess he really kind of went out of his way to do that, to do the saturated colors and make everything look really cool. His reasoning being that, you know, if people lived like this, they would want everything to be as beautiful as possible because it's like the only thing they have. So I don't know. It really seems like he put a lot of thought. This movie reminded me of that Neil Marshall movie that we reviewed that basically is like an homage to this.
Well, yeah, Doomsday was basically a ripoff.
I hated Doomsday. And I remember thinking to myself, I guess I just don't like this whole like cars in the desert thing. And now I see this and I realize, no, it's just this is done right.
Oh, there are cars in the desert. Cool.
Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? This is this concept done as good as I can possibly imagine it being done.
For sure.
Yeah.
I just didn't get Doomsday, man. I don't get it.
I love Doomsday, but you know,
I like Doomsday
better.
too. But yeah, well, I mean, Doomsday was ripping off of Road Warrior, you know,
right.
and all that stuff. I mean, so
this movie starts. You get literally.
Wait. Hey, Eric.
What?
Was you asking me about the matriarchy? You asking me if I like the movie or not? Because I had some thoughts I wanted to share.
I thought you already did.
Get too far into
no,
it.
did you just talk about how you want a mother to take care of you?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, one of the things I think we all kind of skipped was talking about our experience with the Mad Max franchise. And I really just wanted the opportunity to point out that the prior to this, the last Mad Max movie came out a year before I was born. So I just wanted everyone to know that.
Right.
My experience with Mad Max really growing up was like watching all three of them in different parts on HBO. Like I had a babysitter when I was younger that would just leave HBO on all the time, which seems like a bad idea for young children. But so I've seen all three, but just kind of in weird random snippets, and I think had sort of a subconscious impact on me. But I thought this movie was just so fucking awesome. I watched the whole thing. I realized at a point that like I pretty much had my hands like on my face the whole time, like a little kid. Like I was like literally on the edge of my seat, just like freaking out. You know, I think there's not a ton of story and not a ton of dialogue, but you can't really, you know, even though this is, you know, a remake, sequel, whatever, you just like the level of imagination in this movie is incredible. And I think that's what drew people to the Mad Max movies in the first place. Like all the different kind of characters and makeup effects and like character design, you know, even the like all of the common folk in their community, like everyone was in full on makeup and it was all really creative and awesome. And I think that's really, I mean, the budget shows that, right? I think the actual budget is like $150 million. And it definitely shows they put in time to make sure like every last detail was in place. And I think that really shows through the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So you can carry on now. I just wanted to get that out there, you know?
So wait, which one of the freaky warlord guys was your favorite, Mark?
Oh man. Which one of the freaky warlord guys?
Oh, I mean, we haven't even talked about it. Guitar guy.
Oh,
well,
God.
but he's not the warlord.
We'll get to guitar guy in a minute.
He's a captain at best. He's like a petty
adjacent to
officer.
the warlords. I mean, it's all the same.
I just think like I thought Cannibal Guy was just really well designed. I've been watching a lot of Face Off the past like year or two. That
Which
TV
one's
show.
Cannibal Guy? You mean the main guy?
I thought you meant the movie.
Been watching a lot of Face Off lately.
The Cannibal Guy is the fat guy, with the like Hannibal Lecter mask.
Or like it was just on his nose.
Yeah,
it was really weird.
What?
Oh yes, weird. And the weird nipple things.
And the weird nipple things,
yes.
yeah. But I've been watching a lot of Face Off, the sci-fi show lately. That's like the reality show with the makeup designers, and I'm always thinking like, where do these people go? Like, do they even have real jobs anymore? Because all this stuff is CG, and like this is the movie. I think they employed every like special effects makeup artist they could for this movie, and I think just that the big fat gross guy, it really just proves that, you know. Like I just thought it was such a like well designed character. You almost don't get enough of those guys. They just kind of like pick them up as they pass by and they become a part, but it's really just like I always want to know more. But I guess the idea is in sequels we're gonna get to see a lot more like really cool characters like that.
Hopefully,
Goddamn
yeah.
better.
I mean, that's the interesting thing, though, right? Is the story's introduced, plays itself out, is wrapped up, and now, I mean, each movie, I mean, that's kind of the idea, right? Is that Mad Max is just the lone wanderer who kind of wanders in and out of other people's stories, and that's kind of what you see. So every movie sort of has to be a new story, unless they use this just to kind of see if it would as a testing thing, and now they're gonna like maybe do a wider arcing story. Who knows? But I kind of like Tom Hardy says like 10 words the entire movie.
He grunts a few times.
I don't know, this movie, the ending of it, which I'm not going to spoil it here or anything, but the very end of it, when we see everything with Max and whatnot, I think the way they're setting this up is just going to be, like you said, Max's story is told through other people's stories, and they've really set this up for the whole rest of this franchise that Max is just some lone wanderer throughout the post-apocalypse. It's been there since, towards the beginning. So you've seen his evolution, and now he just kind of wanders the countryside, the desert, and we see him pop up at different places. So it's kind of exciting.
Yeah.
He's a bit like Doctor Who in that way, without a time machine.
Right.
Yeah, I think that I think you're right, Casey, that I think the way that the first movie is set up, it's lending itself to an individual story, but you'll still be able to kind of build on what's already been established and kind of either flashback, you'll see some of the same characters again, because obviously they are in the same world or sphere. Yeah. So I think that's fun.
Well, that's the other beautiful thing about this movie is what he has done with the world building for this whole Mad Max world, because we've seen it at the very beginning, at the very first Mad Max. It's not full-blown anarchy and crazy dudes running around in the desert as it is. It's like the very start of it, and then we get this to the Road Warrior, and it starts to evolve. Then we get to Thunderdome, and you got Tina Turner in her chainmail dress and everything, where it's really starting to get out there in the post-apocalyptic thing. But now in this movie, he has cemented all that world building they did before, turned it into a whole new world with very little he didn't even have to do that much storytelling to do it, which was the amazing part. There wasn't a whole lot of descriptions and everything, but they talked about the Greenlands, what's on the other side of the salt flats, and everything like that. Yeah. So you got this whole world for Max to wander and discover. So it's really exciting, just from the world building, what the hell they're going to find.
Yeah, well, you wonder, because, and this is the beauty of all these movies, is like, you wonder what the hell's going on in the rest of the world, right? I mean, it's set in, I guess this is Australia too. I mean, like the originals are all sort of, I think it's explicit in the first one that it's the outback, and then
I don't think you would know that here, but I mean everybody's got an accent, so
no, well, yeah, I mean, sure, but I just mean like it was definitely sort of because he's a cop in the first film, right? He's like he's some sort of police officer or something along those lines, but and it's like actually still pre full on apocalypse. But yeah, I mean, you just assume. But you're talking about not that big an area. I mean, even the whole movie, right? They're driving most of the time, but they more or less go in a couple of big circles. And so there's so much that could be going on. It does lead you to wonder, sort of, what, like, even beyond Australia, what the hell's going on.
I read that it filmed in Namibia.
Yeah, I did hear that.
Oh, okay.
Namibia.
It could have been Australia if you ask me, I
mean,
so Australia is essentially like a giant island or whatever. It's surrounded by ocean, right?
Yes,
correct.
I'm not completely Hoosier in that understanding.
It's kind of like Indiana.
I like that.
But it's
I don't know what that means, but I'm gonna start saying that. Like, you really Hoosier that one, buddy.
Instead of land, there's water. So just do the opposite thing.
But just think that none of these movies that we've never really seen them approach the coastline in any of these Mad Max movies. There's like a whole world out there we don't know.
Yeah. Well,
because unless we blow everybody's mind and Waterworld takes place in this.
I was just gonna say, at what point did you end up in
there are some Waterworld-esque moments in this, kind of plot arcs in this movie. Let's talk about though. So I was reading that. Miller brought on, I guess, a feminist writer to sort of consult on the script to just help him flesh out these female characters more. And what this leads to is all this really interesting stuff, particularly between like the relationship between Tom Hardy and all these women, and then when they meet the awesome like old dirty ladies, like Society of Tiny Old Assassin Ladies, like 3/4 way through the movie. So there actually ends up being some really interesting current of like gender stuff kind of underneath the surface. It was a really unexpected aspect of it that I thought made.
Yeah.
Well, it was unexpected up until it became a major news.
Well, that's true.
Event.
Right. Well, and I think that's the thing that's like really, really awesome that George Miller did. Like, yeah, he brought on Eve Ensler, who was actually the writer for the Vagina Monologues. So she came and kind of consulted with the 5 like wives of Immortan Joe, and instead of them, when she came and consulted with him, she was talking about like, how would you feel like, escaping from someone whose baby that you're having, or like being in an abusive relationship and kind of those things. But also like he wanted to have more of a, to like tip the trope on its head, as opposed to them just being, damsels in distress.
Right.
They're going to have to be survivors, and they're going to have to hold their own and, fight for their survival in this like post-apocalyptic scenario. So I think that it's really cool that it's not, it's not a blatant feminist movie where, it's like, oh, women are better than men. It's
what it is? It's just like more egalitarian, the treatment of it, than you usually see in an action movie. And I think that's like what has made people take notice.
Yeah, I think it's
because they're not even
genius.
like Pollyannas, right? They're not even like perfect characters either.
No.
There's several scenes in the movie where this one of them like wants to go back early on.
Right.
Because it's because of just like a Stockholm syndrome kind of a thing. You know what I mean? So it's
yeah. Or no, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying, I think that it's interesting to have them developed as actual characters rather than, well-rounded, like, damaged characters like Max himself, whereas, they're wanting to go back because that's what they're used to, or, there's, the Splendid, the mother who's actually pregnant, she uses her body as not only having a child, which that's the only thing she's ever grown up doing, but she uses it as a shield for Max when they're being shot at, because she knows that her husband's not going to shoot the baby that she has. So I think that it's really interesting that their characters are developed rather than, hey, we're just kind of breeders or milk makers.
There is a really interesting comment, because I guess at some point we learned that Theron grew up, I guess, in an all-female society. Is that what was being suggested there?
Yeah, kind of, or at least like a more so.
Matriarchy.
It was.
You might say?
It was definitely more in that direction. Although it's hard to know, because when they get there, you sort of mentioned the only folks that are left are this sort of like tight-knit band of women.
The tiny old assassin ladies.
The assassin ladies. Who are using a lot of, sort of sexuality as like a trap, which was pretty a nice little interesting comment there as well. No, it's funny. It was funny to me because I had just like started hearing about all the, I don't know, what is it, men's rights stuff. I guess, Eric, you sent the email.
We've been taking John on an odyssey of men's rights.
I mean, like,
do you feel like your life has gotten better or worse?
John's like, I have a baby. I just have him at home. I'm doing things. I'm an adult.
I'm very familiar with like Gamergate and all that nonsense, but I hadn't heard about it in relation to this movie until literally the day I was going to see it. I saw it on Friday, and
that was really when it blew up.
But I was also very unclear on sort of like how to, like, first of all, like, obviously that stuff is all lunacy, and like it cracks me up if anything, but I was kind of expecting less sort of I was surprised there was still more of a feminist sort of slant to the film than I was expecting, which
there's a line too that is inserted at one point about how men basically were responsible for the world being destroyed in the first place. It's probably the most outright.
Well, no, but I guess my general point was more that, like, even that being said, like, the bar here is so low for something to be called a feminist movie at this point. Like,
totally.
It's literally, so It was funny. One of my friends, I saw it with a couple of my college buddies, and one of them brought up the Bechdel test, which I don't know if we've ever talked about this on the show, but I don't know. Have you guys heard of this? I'm sure Cece. Yeah. So
I'm familiar.
Yeah. So Alison Bechdel is like a comic. She does like graphic novels, and she had a comic strip called Dykes to Watch Out For, which is pretty hilarious. Yeah.
John.
She
that's
actually
that's a word.
She's gotten a sort of second round of notoriety recently because Fun Home, which is a graphic novel she did, just got nominated for the most Tonys this year, so it's kind of blown up. But she has this thing called the Bechdel test, which came from the comic. It was like a joke in one of the comic strips, and basically to pass the test, the movie has to have at least 2 women in it. They have to talk to each other, and they have to talk to each other about something that's not a man. So like that's the test, and you can kind of walk through a lot of movies and
fail.
Well, I mean, it sounds really ridiculous, but I mean, like Ex Machina, like those two. I mean, technically, I realize they're robots, but like those 2 women do not talk the entire film except for once when it's like basically like a hello. So I mean, it sounds really stupid when you say it, like when you lay it out,
I know.
It's very true.
I mean, this movie not only passes the test, it just completely like fucking obliterates it. It's hard to imagine. You know, one of the other things that I think is really important about all these relationships is that there's not really any love story present. There's no, Eric was talking about the side-eye thing. The side-eye thing was not like a romantic thing. It was
There's zero romantic stuff between the 2 of them at all.
Right, they're just like refreshing. They're just helping each other.
Yeah.
You know,
which like is humans do.
Which, and on that note, sorry to jump in real quick, but George Miller had said something like, everyone's, kind of asking, like, did he set out to make this feminist movie? But, he said that he knew kind of the plot that he wanted to go with, and the fact that he needed a strong female character like Charlize's character was because he didn't want Max to be stealing women from another man, because that's a whole different story.
Huh.
Yeah.
Whereas, a woman
That's
helping
super
other women escape is something totally different.
Well,
I mean,
it's wild because it was written years ago, right? Like they've been trying to film this movie since the early 2000s, and I'm sure it's gone through passes or whatever since then, but to have it come out right now, do you know what I mean? Like just release into already a hotbed of discussion on these topics is super interesting.
Yeah, Cece, you mentioned the way that the pregnant character, I can't remember her name.
Splendid.
Splendid. They all have kind of crazy names.
Yeah.
So you mentioned her using her body as sort of a shield, and the part that I loved even more was sort of once they're in the kind of final confrontation, and the sort of zesty old assassin crowd starts to like really
I love the word zesty to describe them.
Oh my god, but they're like
they are though.
They are straight up battling
Spicy.
with these dudes. I mean, it's awesome.
Well, it's a great scene, like, but it's just all kind of realistic. Like one of these ladies are all like my size, basically, right?
Right.
And there's a giant dude on top of this car at one point, and the one lady like runs up to try to attack him, and he just swats her off like a fly. And then Mad Max runs up, and he does the same thing to him because this guy's like 2 feet taller than even he is. You know what I mean?
I just realized too that big guy is Nathan Jones, a former WWE wrestler, which makes sense because he is the fucking hugest person in the world.
Obviously, like I hesitate. I think we don't want to give that stuff too much credence, like the men's rights stuff we're always talking about and controversy and all that crap. But
we're not giving it any.
No, but I find,
like,
but it's no.
It's
but
silly.
by bringing it up, I mean certainly you're putting it out there more or whatever. But because this is also going to come up again. Because these same types of people are also upset about Terminator, because now that this Sarah Connor character, they've changed like her whole.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if
too.
you're going to go back, I mean, Ripley in Alien is more of a feminist character. I mean, granted, like it's a little different, but I mean, these movies have been being made forever. I mean, it's not. I think. Because it came out at a time when this is, a hot topic, it's even more important that we acknowledge it. But also, I mean, it's not a completely feminist movie. It's a very, hey,
I mean, and
women
kind
can beat ass just the way men can.
Kind of. So what if it is too?
Yeah,
what I mean?
exactly.
And I think you're right. Like
if it is, that's awesome. But if not,
even in that sense, it's lightweight though. Like what we're kind of saying is. Just by having sort of equal characters and having so many women be important to the plot of an action movie, like that's something that's different. Right. And I think at the end of the day, it really boils down to just sort of this odd there's just odd insecurity in all these guys who have sort of like kind of found themselves on the internet, because that's what the internet does. But to me, what I'm seeing, man, there's so much of this happening lately. I've been trying to take it all in and really kind of digest it, turn it back on myself and my thoughts, and you know what I mean? Because it's like, it's just inescapable, at least in the circles that I run in on the internet, Mark. But the thing that it comes down
you
to,
gotta start questioning the circles at a certain
the
point.
things that it come down to, though, is this, right? Me, John, Casey, Mark, Joe, whatever, you know, all white males. We all grew up with, every movie was for us or about people like us. Do you know what I mean? And it's like Ghostbusters, same thing. You announce a cast of Lady Ghostbusters and these guys flip their shit. And and here's the thing, even a lot of nerds who would not identify with that group, I feel like still lost their shit for similar reasons. And what it comes down to is like, we grew up having like across the board representation in all forms of media. And even amongst the people that are not hardcore, I think there's still this feeling of like, well, you know, representation for other people is okay too, but not too much. Like, they still have to only be a small part. And I think it's when they start seeing everything being cast with women or minorities or whatever that they freak out. And the thing is, if these people have had no representation for decades, like, fuck you. Who are you to tell them that they can't now have more than you? Do you know what I mean? At that point, it becomes just, well, what will the market bear? And I think the market is going to bear whatever's interesting. You know what I mean?
Also, you know, this is one movie. It's remarkable because it's this one movie.
It's just hitting at like such a flashpoint, you know?
I mean, to get back to, I think John was kind of getting to this when we first started talking about this, that like, if I hadn't heard mention of, you know, whatever supposed controversy, I definitely would have picked up on the themes, but I wouldn't have been thinking about it as much. I would have just taken note of the fact that, like, oh, this is pretty cool. Like, the balance is shifted, you know?
Right. I wouldn't have thought about it as controversial.
I mean, I was actually thinking about, like, I wrote a review for the site on Pacific Rim, and one of the things that I noted, which is one of the only things I really disliked about that movie, was that there was like no female characters in it. There was maybe 2 in the entire movie, and they just were written terribly. And like, you know, so it's not like...
Were there actual characters in that movie?
Right. There were not a lot of characters, period.
Yeah, they were big metal characters, remember?
Yeah, that's a fair point. Okay.
But, you know, it's just like, this movie stands out so much. It would have stood out anyways, but I think having that kind of commentary in the back of my mind was a little distracting. I just wonder, like, I still believe that this whole men's right thing is like a troll. Like, no one actually feels like that.
Well, the other thing too is
it has to be.
The other thing
I
too
don't know,
is,
man. I actually don't think it is.
This film is like a hardcore action movie too, and it's about cars and, you know, things that stereotypically dudes would be into. So
yeah, but ladies are driving the cars.
Oh my God, what kind of world is this, Mark? Dogs and cats living together.
How'd she get?
You know
her
who
license?
wouldn't approve of ladies driving cars? Don Draper.
That's right. All right. Well, so do you feel like we've given that proper respect? Because I think it's time to talk about Guitar Guy.
Guitar Guy. This is a man.
Guitar Gimp?
This is a man who unleashes.
Yeah, the Gimptar Guy.
The Gimptar. This is a man who unleashes sick metal riffs while tied to the front of a big rig, and like he's got no face. Basically, his only job. He's just like, you know, the bugle boy in the Civil War. You know what I mean?
And he's like in a onesie.
Yeah, he is in a onesie.
He sort of heralds the arrival of these dudes by being like, gunk, gunk,
He's
gunk,
the
gunk.
trumpeter of the apocalypse.
So well, the best part about it too. So he's on this rig that on the back of it has all these drummers playing these huge drums. And they definitely played to the joke, because there was a period of time where they were like camped out, and he was basically sleeping in his like guitar playing sex swing. And then the second they got moving again, he just hopped up and started playing music immediately.
I mean, he kind of looks like the hand holding eyeball guy from Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah. Well, I wonder, like, you know, having not,
Oh my God.
like, really, I'm not super familiar with the old movies, so I wonder how much the art direction is similar. It seemed pretty similar, but is there any equivalent to Guitar Guy in those old movies? I don't know.
Well, Master Blaster.
Yeah, that's true.
Is something similar.
You kind of see a
crazy
dude
over
who,
the top type characters.
There's
or
a dude
humongous.
too at the Citadel that looks just like Blaster, the big guy.
Yeah.
He's got the same helmet thing on and everything.
You're just saying that because he's small.
No, the big. Well, there's the like obese,
I got that backwards.
obese tiny person who like can't breathe, and then but then like later they show like who looks like Blaster wandering around.
Yeah. I mean, that's so cool, right? Like, that's going to just make for such good sequel fodder, I feel like, all of the, different characters. One question, did anyone else see this in 3D? Because I did.
Nope.
I did.
Yeah, I did.
And there was one point when the guitar comes, and I was like, oh, they just did that to remind you that, hey, this is in 3D.
That's
Yeah,
how
the
you know how
3D
long
is-
ago this
3D
movie
is
was
not
shot,
great,
that it was
but-
actually in 3D.
Yeah, the 3D was not great, but that was the one
No.
thing that reminded me of the guitar guy thing. Reminded me of it because the fucking slow motion guitar coming at your face is so hilarious.
No, there really wasn't much need for the 3D, but I actually at no point did I find it distracting until they did stuff like that. And it was right after that there was another thing that flew at your face. It was like a steering wheel or something.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah, it
steering
was like
wheel with the
back to
logo or
back.
something.
Given the option,
I saw this in standard and non 3D, and you could tell there was like two moments in this film that you could tell that they shot specifically for the 3D crowd.
That's so
It's
dumb.
just not translate well.
Yeah. I mean, given the option these days, I will never go 3D if I can help it.
Yeah.
Because as soon as I realized that no theater was projecting it maybe it's just the nature of it. It looks so dark. And this movie especially is a movie where it's just so colorful and bright, and like I didn't even consider going to the 3D, to be honest with you.
I mean, we've been saying the same thing about 3D since they started making 3D movies again. And I have to believe at this point that it's really just a cash grab. It's just a way to milk some more money out of these movies.
You give me
totally
another
is.
My Bloody Valentine 3D, and I will pay to see in 3D.
Really
about
though,
it.
like I feel like we were so impressed by it just because it was like one of the first new 3D movies.
No, it was just a silly like tech demo, basically.
Yeah, but I mean that's what we're complaining about in this, right? Is that like it's not actual 3D. It's just
I think
every once in a while some shit flies at your face.
I guess what I was more saying is that like I was actually okay with the 3D here because it didn't distract me. I don't know that it added anything, but I don't know. Whatever. I didn't hate it, so that is probably a good step in the right direction.
I mean, it
for
wasn't.
3D
Yeah,
people.
I literally just saw it in 3D because that was the time that I was going to the theater, and I was like, well, shit, I guess I have to see it in 3D.
People are going to think I'm nuts, but I still think Drive Angry is the best use of modern 3D.
My God.
Pretty good.
Also relevant, there's driving in that movie.
Yeah.
And there's
And
anger.
they're angry.
Yeah, that's right. Are you guys interested in hearing the movie guide on this?
Hey, before you do that, I just want to share with everybody because it's funny. I'm having a moment here on this, and my nephew, who is turning 16 here in July, he's getting ready to be a junior in high school, texted me while we started texting me while we recorded the show. He just got back from seeing Mad Max, and he's going, "Oh wow, that movie is so awesome! I can't wait till it comes out and all this stuff." And I just blew his mind when I told him, "You need to see the original 3 movies." And he said,
What?
"Oh my God, there's more!"
I want to go back now. I feel that I must.
Yeah.
I wonder now though if this one's just so insane that I'm gonna be like,
No, I think. Well, I don't know. I think if you watch the first one,
I kind of want to get them on a VHS.
Well, the first one's gonna feel really dated. It really. I haven't seen it, like I said, in a while, but I remember even at the time thinking it was super low budget, and it kind of felt low budget.
Yeah.
But I think Road Warrior is still probably going to be amazing. And then, like I said, Beyond Thunderdome is just silly. I mean, it's just crazy.
Yes, but now in the context of Fury Road, though, you can go back and watch Thunderdome as the bridge between the Road Warrior times and Fury Road times.
And Casey, I was going to say, and maybe you remember this better, I thought at the end of Thunderdome, don't they go to Sydney or like some town or city that's sort of on the water? I felt like that was like
I
part
honestly
of it.
don't remember. It's been a long time.
Yeah, that's why I said
it was Road Warrior that ended on the dust storm, right?
Mm-hmm. I think so.
See, it's funny because I've been going back and revisiting them myself off and on over the weekend. I was watching probably 45 minutes of Road Warrior earlier this morning. It holds up pretty well.
Yeah. Mark.
Yes.
Movie guide.
Oh man, if you haven't been privy before, movieguide.org is our favorite website, and they review mainstream films for their objectionable content. So if you are a parent, you don't take your God-fearing spawn to see these hellacious movies that we're watching. And of course, because Mad Max is a mainstream movie, they have a really nice review.
Number 1, lady solves problem.
Oh man, I cannot wait. There's got to be.
Which
there
I'm
is
really.
Oh, good.
I was just gonna say I'm really surprised because I mean, most Christian tropes are not very lady oriented, so I'm excited.
There is no way there's not at least one problematic thing in this movie. So,
Yeah.
Or in this description, rather. So, Mad Max Fury Road contains romantic worldview set in a hyper-violent post-apocalyptic thriller about a former policeman forced to fend for himself in the wastelands of Australia at all costs until he finds meaning in saving a group of women from the savagery of an evil warlord, exploiting them as breeding machines. With politically correct environmentalist propaganda about a mankind destroying the environment before people adopting a Christ-like heroic pro-life story of redemption and self-sacrifice for those in need. Plus one male character keeps saying, I live, I die, I live again, Valhalla, indicating he's a believer in pagan ideas about the afterlife, while a woman breeder says, I'm praying to whoever will listen. While a woman breeder says, I'm praying to whoever will listen during an intense chase scene. One F word and a couple light obscenities, intense, nearly relentless violence, consisting mostly of constant chases between souped up cars and trucks dressed out as hyper-inventive killing machines operated by all types of horrifying people who race each other and fight to the death over water and gas.
That was a great sentence.
Yeah, using all this is still one sentence. Using all manner of heavy and sharp objects to pummel each other into submission and cut each other to pieces, or throw and knock each other off speeding vehicles to be left to die in the desert, with occasional moments of graphic bloodshed plus numerous fistfights, kick fights, explosions, flipped vehicles, and just plain mayhem. Especially throughout the first hour, villains use women as, quote, breeders for children, nut hero. I think that's supposed to say butt hero. But hero helps free them. Brief upper
What's
male
a butt hero?
Yeah.
Oh,
brief upper and rear female nudity from a distance as a woman shouts down to other characters. No alcohol, no smoking or drugs, and people kidnapped and held prisoner by villains, plus some reference to collecting breast milk for babies.
It's called mother's milk, okay?
From the dirty pillows.
I don't think was it just for the babies? I thought it was kind of like everybody.
No, everyone drank it. Yeah.
Wasn't there also a period, like a point in the movie where Mad Max washed his face with breast milk?
Yep, because my entire theater groaned when she said, "Oh, it's mother's milk," and he said, "Oh, okay." And then
fuck it.
Well, guys, we didn't even talk about the sweet drug that they spray in their own faces.
Yeah,
that's
so
I
like
know.
go bonkers. That was awesome. I don't know what it was, but I'm kind of interested now.
It looked like silver spray paint to me, John.
It's Fast and Furious NOS that's left over.
Yeah. I loved that was one of forget it. I'm just gonna get off on the tangents about things that I love now. But the when they're standing on the hoods of the car, or when they're like laying on the hoods of the car, pouring, I don't even know what it was, like fucking pure alcohol or something into the engine to fucking soup it up.
Yeah, that shit was cool.
Someone
I don't even know if that's like a thing you could do, but it's.
I mean, that was just gasoline. They were siphoning gasoline and blowing it into the.
Yeah.
All right, so
Cece, tell us more about cars because we don't know. John doesn't even have a car.
I don't.
I mean, I am the car expert in my household, so I could tell you a little bit. I do have a 389 Mustang, but we won't go into that.
Guaranteed, that is the manliest car of anyone on the show.
Yeah.
I drive a Honda Fit.
Do you, Cece, do you have a space for a guitar playing fire gimp to go in the front of your car?
I'm actually working on that rig right now. It's
where do you keep your gimptarist in the meantime?
Where do you keep the guy that you kidnapped from Slipknot?
Yeah, right. Actually, this movie guide guy like really zeroes in on something that I was thinking about during the movie, that strip away all the characterization and plot, and what this movie is a bunch of just like primitive primates trying to murder each other / not be murdered. It's just like
also trying not to fall off a car.
It's pummeling and beating. It's like this very visceral, primitive thing though, where it's like two beings who don't want to die. It's not even that they want to kill each other. They just don't want. They know they're gonna die if they don't kill the other person. It's very intense.
Yeah. It's very tribal too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard some people talking after the movie, which I was surprised to see anyone else in the theater because I went and saw it at 11 in the morning. There was a group of people talking, and this one guy was like, I really liked it, but it was like relentless. They just never stopped.
Yeah.
And I mean, that kind of describes the whole movie. It's like you are just kind of wrapped the whole time because it's, once that first car kicks in, it goes literally nonstop for 2 hours.
At some point, like, well, there's
shoots
like
you somewhere out the other end.
There's the first act. Like, each act has its own 25-30 minute sequence, but like, it's 5 minutes intro and then right into it, and it goes for almost a half an hour straight. And at one point I was thinking, could this actually keep going for 2 hours? It does kind of, it does a great job though at giving you those breathing moments. Which is cool.
there's a couple moments where it kind of it's a little quieter, but yeah, then
they're very brief.
Then chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we got to wrap it up here. Would you recommend this? If so, should people go out to the theater? Mark,
Yeah, see it more than once.
Casey,
Yes, why are you here? Go to the movie.
John,
Yep.
Cece.
Yes, support the feminist agenda.
That's right.
Yes, go see it. Go see it.
Support your
I'll
feminist
stop that.
overlords.
I know, right?
Yeah. All right, guys, that's it for Mad Max Fury Road. Let's take a quick break here and do some fan mail.
Water. You can drink it, you can swim in it. And if you're not careful, you can die in it. Piranha. Piranha, the deadliest flesh eaters of all. Their razor teeth can strip a man to bone in seconds. And now they're here, in the lakes and rivers of America. Piranha, they'll eat you alive. From New World Pictures, rated R, under 17, not admitted without parent.
Hey, I'm Josh McDonald, writer of The Corridor and writer-director of the short film Game. And you are listening to Bloody Good Horror.
Send your emails to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or hit us up on Twitter at BGHorror with the hashtag AskBGH. And don't forget to pick up back episodes of the show at podcast.bloodygoodhorror.com.
We're back. Ran a little late, so we're going to crank through some fan mail here. info@bloodygoodhorror.com is the email address. First up, Dustin says, "Hey, Eric, your Yoda / Dusty Rhodes impersonation not only nearly caused me to wreck my car, but I also peed a little bit. Hashtag you will be."
Careful.
Yeah, you will. Caitlin Daniels, the song during the slow love scene is Death by White Lies. That's the movie we did,
Oh,
Randy and Vampires.
yes.
Death, comma, by White Lies, I think is how that should be read. RJ&C, last week, Eric BGH seemed really exhausted, just tired of it all. Yeah, I've been working like 12-hour days for pretty much a month straight and on weekends, so... but I'm pretty much wrapping it up this week. I finally got a couple good nights of sleep this weekend, so as you can tell, I'm a little peppier than I have been.
A little more spry.
Yeah, it's going to be all right. Everything's going to be all right, you guys.
That's good, man.
I have faith in Charlize Theron.
Yes.
Next up, Craig Chaos with 2 Ks. Enough talk about a hipster walks alone at night and more talk about Dwayne Johnson's unhealthy relationship with cod. So much cod. He's a major cod eater. He always has a mouthful of cod. He can't get enough cod. Also, Brock Lesnar as a werewolf versus Candyman as a lucha libre wrestler.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure
Candyman.
Brock Lesnar werewolf is fucked up.
Yeah,
Like
that's
nothing's-
fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
Basically
Yeah.
invincible, right?
Right. Last up, Hannah just picked up the book for at BG Horror Book Club, and then thumbs up emoji. Thanks, CC Riots, for being a boss and starting this up.
Thanks. All hail Charlize.
That's right. Mother
Furiosa.
Mother Gaia. Info@bloodygoodhorror.com is the email address. We're also on Twitter at BG Horror with the hashtag AskBGH. Mark,
Yeah.
I only want to hear from women tonight. I don't want to hear any man questions.
Okay, and that's all we have for SBGH.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, actually, that's not true.
Men are to be seen, not heard, Mark.
First one, Philly's Femme. So Sophie
with
managed
lady
to ask a
question.
question. Yeah, Sophie managed to ask a question for a show that she was not on. If the BGH crew did voice work for an animated feature, what animal would everyone voice?
Oh, it's pretty good.
I want to be a bat.
I don't know. I like to picture myself as like a ferret or like an opossum.
Nice.
Hey, guys.
I kind of like I kind of like the fox from Fantastic.
No,
Mr.
John,
Fox.
you're
I
a
would be like
mongoose. Yeah, you could be a fox too.
mongoose. Oh,
Like
no,
a
I'll take
long,
mongoose.
like a long, like yeah.
Wasn't there a mongoose in Fantastic Mr. Fox? Wasn't that
Was he the
Willem
bad guy?
Dafoe? Yeah, I thought that was Willem Dafoe.
I was actually just thinking of
Okay.
Ricky Tikki Tavi.
Oh
my
I
God.
loved Ricky Tikki Tavi.
That is obscure.
Yep.
I already answered her on Twitter, but I think I'd have to be a Sasquatch.
Yeah, we're a bear, like a kindly bear who likes honey.
Yeah, like
Baloo.
Baloo.
I mean, we all know I'm an otter, so that's just.
good.
What about you, Cece?
Bare necessities.
I don't know. I mean, I like bats, but I don't know what my personality lends itself to.
Like a sassy giraffe?
What?
That might
I
work.
mean, I don't think I'm that tall, but sure.
Well, it has nothing to do with that. It's just like
Well-
what I hear when I hear your voice, what I think of. A sassy
Oh.
giraffe.
That just makes me think of who's the giraffe in Madagascar? Isn't that David Schwimmer? Are you comparing me to
yeah.
David Schwimmer?
I don't know, Cece. How many times have you seen Madagascar?
Actually, a lot. I
Okay.
like that movie, so I will admit it.
Don't worry, CC.
Oh
I
my
think it's
God.
just because he's so much shorter than you are.
I mean, I'm only 5'2". I don't. How tall are you, Eric? 5?
5'3". Boom. My license says 5'4". Because you can just lie.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm 6'2".
If the humidity is low, I'm like 5'4". It's less barometric air pressure.
Not sure. All right.
That's
When you're
science.
wobbly.
That's science.
All
Mark,
right,
what's
great.
next?
Yeah. Next one, Alan Murch. You discover someone has hidden cameras recording you the whole week, even when alone. How worried are you about what they've seen?
I just go jump off a bridge right there because it's just it's no good. Well, it's
I
funny
hope
you
you-
say that because now on this new computer I have this webcam hooked up, and I mean, the NSA is watching all of us, right? I
Yep.
mean, they just
No,
it's not
why?
even really
Yep.
debated. I mean, they've said they pretty much are.
But like through your webcam, what would they want to
Yeah.
do with that?
I don't know, John,
they
but
just
they're
hang out
people,
and
so they're
watch you.
watching. Because if you gave me that ability, I would do it.
Yeah, but they're not watching you.
How do you
They're
know?
watching everyone. All of us.
John,
Each of
for
us
real,
has it.
you work at the place where the people are watching us.
I'm just saying, most
I
people
think-
are not worthy of being watched,
I
including
think you're
myself.
required to say that by like.
Okay.
Anyway,
Whatever.
I say that
That's
because
fine.
I've been resisting the urge to tape a piece of paper over my webcam.
I
Um,
do know people
join
that
the
do
club. I totally already have one on mine.
Okay. You know what? All right. Thank you, Cece. I'm going to do it.
Do it.
It's good.
I know people at my office that do that. So
Yeah, because they know it's true.
yeah, no,
fucked up,
they're not
man.
looked at like they're the crazy people around.
I mean, John, don't act like every time we talk on Google, it's not off the record.
John, listen. They are just sweeping the internet and sucking everything up that they can.
Sucking
I guess
everything.
my point is, as more stuff gets sucked up, the value of any one thing that is being sucked up diminishes.
But it's still there.
You're like making the argument for like a totalitarian government. Like if you're not doing anything wrong, what are you worried about? That's basically what
I'm
you're
making
saying
a
to me
different
right now.
argument, but that's fine.
But it's on the same slope. It's a slippery slope, John. That's
Listen,
what I'm trying to say.
I wouldn't be excited if I found out that my
Right.
video camera was on all the time. I also do not think it's on all the time. I just technologically, it's not feasible to do. Casey should be the one telling us whether or not this makes sense. We couldn't
Casey
even
knew it's
save
true.
No comment.
John, they can remotely listen to you through your phone without it even being on.
I think.
and
I
your
mean,
TV.
I also think on the other side of that, it's absurd to think that there are even things that you can do to prevent it from happening if it were happening.
Also true, but I don't have to have a camera pointed
go.
directly at me all the time.
You
though.
guys, why are we even debating it? Because we already know that the head of Google is going to use it to develop AI somewhere here in the next couple of years. So
He's scraping my porn habits to see what he can come up with.
Trying to make that jelly brain.
Right. Hashtag wetware.
Good times. You can
Next
all
one.
go live like Ted Kaczynski, is all I'm saying. Just go.
If I could, my friend.
All right,
If
guys,
only.
let's power through this. All right, we got a Mad Men finale to get to. Next one, Evan Sleed. If one of you was the flame guitar playing slave in long red underwear, who would it be?
Joe.
yeah,
Joe does
I can
love
see
metal
that.
more than anyone else on the show.
All right, I'll go with that.
Plus, I could see him in a gimp suit.
plus,
saying.
he's not here to defend himself, so I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure
it's the
he
best
becomes
part of this.
the
Exactly.
gimp anyways. Next one is from The Real Rawhide, Okay. Is it just me, or does the baddie in this look a lot like Dr. Satan from House of a Thousand Corpses?
Yeah.
I thought so.
Apparently, this was a villain from the first movie.
Yep.
No, it's the same actor.
Same actor.
Oh, I thought it said
I don't
same
think
character.
it's the same
It was like
character.
Toe Cutter or something.
Yeah, the guy played Toe Cutter in the original Mad Max.
Okay.
I don't know if it's supposed to. I don't know if because the bad guy in this one is Morton Joe, but it's the same actor. I don't know.
Oh, I
that they're supposed
gotcha.
to be the same guy.
There you go. All right. Next one is from Johnny Sacco. Would it be worth it to have live Mad Max World if it meant being with Charlize?
Sorry, read again. I was not.
Oh, sorry. I read it's supposed to be live. Would it be worth it to have to live in Mad Max World if it meant being with Charlize?
I mean,
She
can I
seems
pick Tom
awesome.
Hardy? Yeah.
Got that cool arm.
I mean, I love
mean-
Charlize, but I'd pick Tom Hardy.
As long as she's running shit and I'm with her, then yeah.
That's what I was saying before.
You wouldn't
I
want to
said-
be in the world otherwise.
They don't really explain either why she like rubs grease on her face. All I could think was like, that's a good way to get zits.
Well,
Well,
no,
a
you know,
bunch
like
of them
football
did that.
football players.
Yeah,
but,
it's just her.
Yeah, it's for the sun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the other guys, what did they call them?
The
War Boys.
War
had-
Boys.
did that too.
Yeah.
All right, next one. Also, Johnny Sacco. Continuing my favorite joke of spelling John's last name like Shanners or Cheniers. Actually, this is the best one.
Cheniers.
Choose your dystopian future: frozen planet, desert radioactive planet, alien invaded, machine controlled, or Cheniers as Prez.
You know which one I'm going with.
Yeah.
Cheniers 2060.
I'm voting
Cheniers.
for. I'm voting for Cheniers.
I'd be for the desert radioactive planet because fuck frozen planet.
Cheniers
Yeah, I
are
do not like
John's new line of fake teeth that he's coming out with.
I was thinking
Look
it
your
sounds
best
like
with Cheniers.
I feel like it sounds like pantyhose or something. Never leave your house without your Cheniers. All right. Next one, 40-ounce heroes. Everyone is giving rave reviews to the new Mad Max. Would you be interested in a sequel produced by Happy Madison?
I don't want anything.
I'm
produced
waiting.
by
I mean,
Happy
at this
Madison.
point, right? Like, I might as well say this now since we're like less than 48 hours from the release. At this point, we're all waiting for the troll, right? Like, who's going to be the one big critic who's going to get out? Like, or even not a big critic, but every one of us in our Twitter feed on Monday morning will see it, or by the end of the week, we'll see a story that's like, why Mad Max isn't as good as everybody says it is.
I already got one on my Facebook.
Link. See? Everybody's got to be a naysayer, man. There's always got to be one. Every corner.
Yeah, you know, I usually accept Facebook requests as they come in, whether or not I know the person, which is probably a fucking terrible idea. But then I end up blocking most of them, just like talking about all kinds of bullshit. And this was one of them. Next one, Johnny Sacco again. If you could see the future, would you look to see when you die or try and prevent it?
Huh.
Nope.
No, I don't want either of those.
Death's inevitable, man.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, what if
I
you
don't
just
wanna know
die
when it's
because you're
coming.
old as fuck? Like, that you can't do nothing about that, man.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd want to see the future.
No.
I guess it might help
They show you
seeing...
your vision. All you see is you drooling and shit in your diaper.
Well, it might
And
help
again.
if you see yourself old and decrepit. That might help you appreciate your current functioning body a little more and maybe take care of yourself a little better. So as motivation, that might be good.
So like
can you
Ebenezer Scrooge style, you see, you know, what a fucking shithead you are, and you try to make it better.
I mean, we're assuming we can actually change the future then in this scenario, right?
Well, you could see it, and then you're still in present time, and then you could try to do... Like, not that you're in the future, but you could try to avoid whatever that outcome was. It's like Terminator, John. It's all cyclical.
Yeah, all right, I see. The world is a flat circle.
Yes,
Time is
exactly.
Whatnot.
Time's a flat circle.
Yeah.
John, I feel like if you could dress like Matthew McConaughey in True Detective for
Oh my
Halloween,
God.
it'd be amazing.
Like that mustache, if you got like a fake mustache and the hair.
No, he had a real weird
He
mustache.
had that
for a while.
mustache.
That would be
I was
the
gonna
greatest fucking Halloween costume. And then you just have to memorize a bunch of the like monologues. And just carry around a like fucking
sounds great.
swan made out of a beer can.
I'm in. You're selling me on this.
Genius. I mean,
Right.
a little old at reference at this point, but
Yeah, fair, but still
throwback
good.
Thursday maybe.
TBT, bro.
right.
Next one. Flashing them TDs. Tales from the Crypt or Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Ooh, Ooh, Tales
Crypt.
from the Crypt.
Tales from the
Tales
Crypt,
from the
yeah.
Crypt. Come on, bro.
Slam dunk.
I was gonna say, I think Cece and I are the only people of the "Are you afraid of the dark" generation.
I think so.
Yeah, that
I
was.
watched Are You Afraid of the Dark?
I saw it, but I felt like a little old for it at the time it came out.
See,
There
that's
were-
more preteen, right?
I have way more memories of like seeing the intro, just the intro to
Yeah.
Tales from the Crypt, and like literally making me shit my pants.
Oh, I used to have fucking nightmares about the Crypt Keeper all the time.
And you're like, oh god, it's coming up. He's gonna come out of that coffin. I just know it. It's gonna happen.
I remember, I must have been a fucked up kid because I remember a dream that I had where I was being terrorized by the Crypt Keeper, and then He-Man came and chopped his head off.
I went back recently and watched through a lot of those old Tales from the Crypt. I mean, there's definitely some throwaway ones, but in general, they're pretty good.
Oh, yeah, there's some.
Yeah.
I thought there were always some good ones.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
for
I
television,
think,
especially.
You know, the
Yeah,
difference
totally.
I think is like when you kind of look at Tales from the Crypt, it's all around scarier. And all around, you know, just kind of more creative and interesting. Are You Afraid of the Dark is fine, and some of those stories are actually pretty, you know, pretty interesting.
Well,
but
to
I
me,
just
it's
think-
like it's where I think like Masters of Horror and what was that? Which one was the one that was on TV? Fear Itself. Like those
Yeah.
went wrong, I think, by trying to be an hour long because that's such a weird time. What's awesome about those half an hour ones is just like in, out, bam, done. You know what I mean? And it's just all you need is a quick setup and a twist, and you're done. And it's easier to tell a fun story that way.
Right. It's like, you know, it's like the shorts in the anthology films. You get to tell a really neatly wrapped up kind of classic horror story and then just be done with it.
Well, Tales from the Crypt had a ton of great material to draw from the comics.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
it was almost like an unfair advantage in that regard. But
See, but for me, at my age, growing up and whatnot, when both of those, at the times those hit and whatnot, it's the difference of made for kids and made for grown-ups. So
Yeah.
it's easy to go with Crypt. Now, I'm not knocking Are You Afraid of the Dark. It's just I was beyond that stage when it came out.
Dig it. Next one. Jay Gaona 91. Who would you pick to survive an apocalypse with, real or fictional, up to 4 people?
The Bloody Good Horror Crew. No question.
I was just going to go with Brock Lesnar
just
and
Cece
the
because
Candyman.
Cece seems like she would be like the mother ruler. So
I mean, if I come across as Charlize Theron, then yes,
yeah,
I appreciate that
I
comparison.
say I'm with John though. Brock Lesnar, Candyman, Ronda Rousey, and then you need
Ronda Rousey. That's awesome.
I can't think of number 4.
She would just Brock Lesnar, Ronda Rousey. That's all you need. Who needs 4?
But if Candyman, like, he can't be in the desert because his bees will die.
It's true.
Oh,
So he's not going to very much help.
But wait though, if you were able to find some arable land, the bees could pollinate the plants.
That's
Boom.
well,
And
he
Candy
has,
Babe would be our savior.
yes. I like this. I like where it's going.
Leader.
Thank you, based Candyman. Oh my god, that's fucking. You guys are the best. All right, last one is from Ink Static. Now that we've seen a flame-throwing guitar gimp, what kind of gimp gimmick would each of you have in the apocalypse?
I don't know that you can top that. Like, can you imagine just having killer metal follow you around every time you were doing something?
Yeah, I mean, I don't like do anything that interesting that it like I could be.
I mean, it would make it that interesting.
Like I could be the gimp who checks his Twitter like 40 times a day.
There are no
I think
gimp.
it's pretty obvious that I'd have to be, like Blaster from Thunderdome carrying Nools around on my shoulder.
Yeah,
Master,
we don't have
Blaster,
any,
and Master.
We don't have any like gimp jugglers or plate spinners among us.
No. I don't think.
I could give hugs. I could just like give hugs to regenerate everyone when they're feeling down.
Oh, I was like, these aren't like killer hugs. You're not like squeezing the life out of people.
No,
gimp hugs.
I'm a gimp hug healer.
Oh, okay. Well, we do need those. We need those.
Yeah. Make a weird noise every time you guys when you hug. Just like
we need somebody
sitting,
like Joe or somebody
like sitting on
that's,
a leather couch.
We need somebody like Joe or somebody who's only post-apocalyptic gimp powers, like he's really good at pratfalls or something like that.
I don't like this question, Mark.
Well, you don't. Why?
I just don't.
Does it make you feel like you don't have any marketable talent?
I led down a real weird path.
As a gimp?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry to end on such a dour note. That's the last question we've got.
Just makes me think of Pulp Fiction.
Yeah. You mean like sex gimps and whatnot?
Pulp Fiction really was like the moment for gimps in pop culture. Because I feel like it was the
Yeah.
90s. Everybody's kind of awakening about things, and they were like, wait, what's that? Oh.
What
I didn't
about
know what
Soul
that was.
Calibur, Eric? What about Soul Calibur?
Sure, yeah, Voldo, right?
Yeah, big gimpin'.
Is he really a
Big
gimp or more
gimpin'.
of like an S&M kind of guy? I mean, I guess that's, but
Listen, I am not claiming to know enough to know the difference. I'm sure that wouldn't be the first time that we misused that particular word on this podcast.
all right, what's next week?
Poltergeist.
Poltergeist.
Yeah.
Speaking of resurrecting
Sure
things that
is.
have been long
Also,
dead.
well, can I say if we have any listeners out of Atlanta that we have the Plaza Theater who is doing a 24-hour marathon of every Poltergeist up until the opening on Friday.
That's
and I will
cool.
be there.
For all of it?
Well, no, not for all of it. I do have to work,
Oh.
but for parts of it.
Nice, that's awesome. So let's see. So number 1 at the box office this week, Pitch Perfect 2. Number 2, Mad Max. Which, by the way, I saw people like nerds being very angry that Pitch Perfect was number 1 at the box office. Again, it's like not everybody has to like the same kind of movies you guys
Well,
like. It's
also,
gonna be
Pitch
okay.
Perfect isn't rated R. I mean, it's kind of hard for
Yeah.
Wait, really? The first one was, I thought.
No.
Pitch Perfect.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of cursing in that movie, isn't there?
Eric, they let
maybe
you
not.
say a lot of naughty words in PG-13.
Yeah.
Are there a lot of
movies.
S words in that
Also,
movie?
the first movie is kind of awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, I
pretty
think that
good.
it's just because it's not a.
That's
rated R.
actually, I did see nerds complaining about Pitch Perfect 2, and I wanted to just send them to you,
fuck
Eric,
you,
and be
dude.
like, Eric loves that fucking movie.
Yeah. But here's the thing.
like
Even
it.
if it's and again, it goes back to like nerd entitlement, and it ties in with all this other shit we've been talking about. It's like they think that a movie like Mad Max, because it's for nerds, that's the smart movie. That's the only movie people should be allowed to like. And somehow it's like a death knell for society that Pitch Perfect 2 was number 1 at the box office. Newsflash, there are other types of movies that other kinds of people other than you like.
No, I don't get it. Please
Yeah,
explain further. I don't understand.
I just
not
like
confused.
I'm coming to a point with this shit where I don't even know how to entertain it. Like it's just like shut the fuck up.
Well, you get to, this
Like
is where
people
you gotta,
upset
like-
about the Ghostbusters thing, go fuck yourself. Is
Dude,
all I
you
can
have
think.
to stay out of these circles on the internet. You just
John,
do.
I'm
You
in
have
it,
to make
buddy.
yourself
I'm in
crazy.
it deep.
I know.
Yeah.
I
can't get
worry
out.
about you.
I'm like an undercover operative.
It's like the next step. Like I said, it's this to Ted Kaczynski. There's not gonna be a middle ground for you. I'd worry.
I'm like Johnny Depp in that one movie with Al Pacino.
Just saying, these nerds are gonna get real pissed when I
the
like
ninth
skip an
gate.
episode. And go
Ninth
see.
Gate? Donnie Brasco. That's what I was thinking.
Are you guys gonna get mad at me if I like skip a week to go see the Entourage movie?
I mean, that would be a
Well,
little
okay, that is a movie you're not allowed to like. So
Yeah.
fuck
Well, I'm going to like it anyway. So
Oh my god.
Were you the one who
Sorry.
was saying on the show that you watch Entourage?
yeah,
It's fucking weird. It's mostly just weird. It's so not like you, Mark.
that's okay. You know,
I work with a
well
guy.
rounded.
Maybe he's expanding his horizons.
I work with a
Yeah.
guy that we call Turtle because he looks and acts just like that dude.
weren't you literally just saying that you're allowed to like the movies that you like, and other people are
Except
allowed to like
the
things?
addendum to that is little asterisk, and it says except Entourage.
I don't know, man.
I just looked at the Entourage trailer. Actually, asked the question that I had in my mind. I've watched like one or two episodes of Entourage way early on. Never grabbed me or anything, but I remembered who Turtle was. And then I'm watching this trailer and I'm trying to figure out where Turtle was because I hadn't seen him. So that's the only character I really remembered from when I watched it. And then that one girl asked him, "Didn't you used to be fat or something?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, it is."
Yeah. I just like watching that movie because if you start to rewatch it, it started in 2004, so everyone has flip phones, and when they get really mad, they like slam their flip phones shut. You just don't get that same satisfaction.
Snap.
Yeah.
Yeah. I slammed an iPhone down once. You know what happened? I fucking broke it and I had to pay $200 for a new one. That sucks. All right, guys. What's next week in the theater?
Poltergeist.
Poltergeist.
Boom.
Good lord.
Is there?
Full
There's got to be a
circle.
Poltergeist video game. I'm pretty sure there is actually. So I'm gonna try to find that. out.
No way.
I'm pretty.
They're
There's
they're
something.
marketing the shit out of the clown. There's like
Yeah.
if you had never seen or heard of Poltergeist, you would just think
So
that this
movie
remake
about
is about a
clowns?
clown.
here's what you got to do: YouTube.com/BGH video. Check out my Let's Plays, our remixes, Casey's videos. Reddit.com/RBGH, like the Mother's Milk, if you will. Actually, I guess Mother's Milk wouldn't have RBGH in it, so Although I don't really know what they're
That
doing.
shit's
there.
pure.
I don't know what their process is like. Anyway, that's where you can find Cece's book club and other stuff going on. And Mark, 20 seconds, give someone a pitch for bloodygoodhorror.com.
We have new reviews every day from some of the same voices you hear on the site. We're reviewing new movies, we're reviewing old movies, we're posting trailers, we're going to start posting lists again. If you can't get enough of all of our wonderful voices, you should go to bloodygoodhorror.com.
Yes, bloodygoodhorror.com. You can also get back episodes of the show there. That's going to do it, guys. Hope you enjoyed our discussion on Mad Max Fury Road. We're back in the saddle here for summer, and we'll see you next week.
Adios.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye-bye.